Hey, good morning this morning. It is the post-mortem on a an absolute beatdown last night. In fact, the question that I would ask you is, what did you turn on? Once it got to, 45-7, what did you go to? Did you just go to bed? Did you just have a conversation? Did you just go to Twitter? What did you go to when the score got out of hand? I'll tell you what I went to. Bernie Madoff, there is a new Netflix series on Bernie Madoff, the something of Wall Street, the wolf, not the wolf, but whatever it is of Wall Street. And I turned it on because, frankly, you couldn't watch that. In fact, Jared and I were sitting watching the game, and we had both gotten it to 14. We had taken, I'll be perfectly honest, TCU and 14 points. About 2 minutes in, I looked at Jared and I said, we are screwed. Like, you could tell the size of these guys, TCU, this big, the size of those guys, Georgia, this big, the speed of these guys, this fast, the speed of those guys, this fast, and I didn't think it'd get to 65-7, but I've got 5 really good beatdowns in championship games that I want to go later on in the show and get with you. We've also, Robert Griffin III says that the Texans are racist. Robert Griffin III is an idiot. I'll tell you a story about sitting next to Robert Griffin III at the NCAA championship game in Indianapolis and what a complete idiot that guy is. So don't pay attention to that. Everything is racist. Let's just put this out. Anytime an African American gets fired from anything, it is racist. Anytime you don't just lift up everybody, it is racist. Let's just say that. Let's just go to that. And let's just figure that to be true. Anytime. Doesn't matter the job. Doesn't matter what it is. Just anytime. Coach gets fired, racist. Player gets benched, racist. Ratings aren't as good for an African-American show, racist. Racist. It's all racist. What a load of crap. Lovie Smith, everybody knew the dude wasn't worth a damn. I mean, let's be honest. Sean Salisbury's been saying that the whole time. In fact, I got to tell you, I actually didn't think they would fire Lovie Smith because everybody's so scared of being labeled racist. All right, let me go. We're going to get to that. But first, the press conference last night after the game, the beatdown, 65-7. Kirby Smart discussed his son. That's right, his son and the importance of MVP Stetson Bennett. Let's hear how his son reacts to Stetson Bennett.
He did a change of protection, made an elite throw. He schemed up a run, ran a midline run, which nobody runs. He ran for a touchdown. He's got a tackle that's like a tight end out there in Broderick. And when you got a quarterback that can do the protections and check things and know what the defense is doing, but yet still beat you with your feet, you got a high-level quarterback. And people have slept on Stetson Bennett for too long. He needs an opportunity to play for a long time at the next level.
Oh, that's my fault. I gave you the wrong way. Yeah, people haven't slept on Stetson Bennett. Well, all Stetson Bennett did last night was account for 6 touchdowns. Look, everybody says he's not an NFL quarterback. Maybe he's not. I don't know, but I know this. He threw the ball a hell of a lot better than Max Duggan. I'll tell you something else, and I know it's a different deal, but he threw the ball a hell of a lot better the other day than Trevor Lawrence. Now, I don't want to see Stetson Bennett be one of those guys that's climbing in the draft, right? I don't need that out of my life. But Stetson Bennett, look, we're sitting there, Jared and I, and I'm going, man, every time that dude throws the ball, because they show you dropping back, and then the pass, and then they show the ball in the air, and you don't know if the wide receiver is going to be open. And then, it's quick, and then it goes to the wide receiver, and the dude is putting the ball right there, and he's putting it on the line. But everybody's telling me Stetson Bennett can't be a quarterback in the NFL. I was watching my man Carton, and he's just making fun of Stetson Bennett because of how old he is. He was doing it out of love, but I'm sitting there going, everybody says he can't play. Everybody says he's not an NFL guy. Look like an NFL guy to me. Now, I'm sure he's not because, we all get excited. Tim Tebow, blah, 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 blah. We all go, all right. But, yeah, look, Yeah, he can't. If he can't, he can't. But he had 6 touchdowns in the national championship game, ran 2 in, got past everybody. But TCU, I'm sorry, man. You didn't belong. That's stupid, too. But it also made it right when people said, hey, look, the national championship game was played between Ohio State and Georgia. When people said that, I'm like, shut up. TCU, look, blah, 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 blah. No. The national championship game was played between Ohio State and Georgia. And, man, if you're Ohio State, you know that one show, Liar, Liar, when Jim Carrey goes into the bathroom and he beats himself up and they ask him, what are you doing? And he says, I'm kicking my backside. That's exactly what Ohio State's doing today. They're just kicking their own backside. What an opportunity they had. Wow. But you got to give it to Georgia. You got to give it to Kirby Smart. And this game was won, ladies and gentlemen. This game was won, well, probably in the recruiting process. But let's just go coachy on you, okay? Let me go coachy on you. This game was won when Kirby Smart did not accept the terrific fourth quarter performance by Stetson Bennett. This game was won when Kirby Smart said, hey, look, we got to be much better. Mike Griffith put it out, and Stetson Bennett said he's right. Now, all the little media pukes are like, oh, my God, he's so mean. Oh, my God, how can he be so mean to his player? Oh, my God, he's mean. Shut up. Mean my backside. All right, so also now let's go to the press conference, and Kirby Smart talks about, this is a pretty cool story. This is the impact that Stetson Bennett has. I always thought if you're going to be an athlete, you better, ladies and gentlemen, you better involve little kids. Let's listen to Kirby Smart's story about Stetson Bennett and his son.
I'll tell you a quick story. I walked in they got a real nice head coach's office in that room over there. And I don't know if Stetson knows this, but I walked in and my 10-year-old son, Andrew's bawling. And I was like, oh no, somebody's hurt his feelings, somebody's thrown him down, somebody's done something to him. He said, why are you crying? You're gonna ruin my moment. He said, Stetson's leaving. Stetson's gone. I said, he's 25 years old, he's gotta go. Gotta leave. But he's bawling about Stetson.
Yeah, see, that's pretty cool. See, now I can get down with that. I mean, can't you get down with that? If you're going to be an athlete and you're going to be the quarterback and you got your coach's kid there, you know what? You got to involve the coach's kid. I'm sorry, you just do. You got to be a guy. Like, you got to be a dude, right? You got to be a dude that's like, hey, come here, kid. I mean, because then you look at these little kids' eyes, and their eyes are big, and they're like, hey, hi, hey, how you? They're always, and then they get comfortable, and then they have a blast hanging out with Stetson Bennett. It's awesome. So good for Stetson Bennett, good for Kirby Smart's son, and away you go. This is a pretty good video or picture from Barstool Sports. Stetson Bennett, 2042, Dylan. I think in 2042, Stetson Bennett's getting ready to win another national championship. Let's show it. Oh, boy. There he is. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. 2042. Stetson Bennett trying to get his 21st straight. Look, here's the deal. The NCAA is so scared of anything with players, right? He could probably apply for 2 more years. And the NCAA would say, well, we don't want to be seen as anti-player. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, we can't be anti-player. Can we be anti-player? No, you can't be anti-player. Stetson Bennett ought to make that happen. He really ought to. I think it's great. And look, 250-plus yards rushing. There was literally nothing Sonny Dykes and his team can do. And that doesn't take away from Sonny Dykes and his team. Let's be honest. They got to the national championship game. It always fascinates me how little puke third-team all-conference guys in high school say, well, you didn't win nothing. Yeah, my backside. They got to the national championship game. What are you, nuts? Yeah, well. No, there's no yeah, well. You get to the national championship game when you are TCU, you have won a ton. A ton. And it doesn't take away because you got blown out. Now, it might in some people's eyes because, well, let's be honest, most people are idiots. I mean, most people, well, man, you don't win nothing. While the guy's sitting there with a belly bigger than mine and hasn't gotten off his couch in 6 weeks. It was a hell of an effort, great effort by Sonny Dykes and TCU. They didn't have near enough. They lost it on recruiting day, and that's fine. That's the way it goes. Well, Buffalo Bills, man, they haven't won anything. No, they've been to 4 Super Bowls. What have you done? Well, I nothing. Shut up. Seriously. Congratulations, TCU. You got there. Let everybody disparage you except for yourself because you know how hard you worked. And I hope personally that the recruiting goes great. And I hope you're back because I like Sonny Dykes. I like Max Duggan. I like the story. Obviously, congratulations to Georgia. Mike Griffith came on here and said exactly what happened. This was going to be a beatdown. This was not going to be close. And he was absolutely positively right. You know, we're going to get into more of it with Trey Wallace live from L.A., baby, where he was covering the game. But yesterday was also supposed to be Black Monday. Now, I don't know, I'm sure Robert Griffin and everybody will say that's racist. You can't call it Black Monday. Okay, African-American Monday. What would you like us to call it, idiots? But anyway, one guy got fired, and that was Kliff Kingsbury. One guy hasn't been fired, and he's begging for his job. Things are going to change, Jeff Saturday says here in the Colts. Things aren't going to be if I'm the head coach, I'm going to coach you like I coached my high school team that went 3-7. Jeff Saturday is a fool. Now, I didn't know this. I didn't know this until I heard this press conference right here.
Here's the deal. Everybody talks about I'm completely comfortable in who I am as a man, bro. I know I can lead men. I know the game of football, and I'm passionate about it. I have no fear about, are you as qualified as somebody else, bro? I spent 14 years in the locker room. I went to the playoffs 12 times. I got 5 dudes in the Hall of Fame that I play with. You don't think I've seen greatness? You don't think I've seen how people prepare, how they coach, how they GM, how they work? I mean, won Super Bowls, been to 2. Like, here's the deal, man. None of us are promised a good job. I may be terrible at this, and after 8 games, I'll say, God bless you. I am no good. I may be really good at it. I got no idea, but I dang sure ain't going to back down. I can tell you that.
Yeah, he did back down. He backed down. He was stupid. He was arrogant. He said, I too much, and he was horrible. No, he was horrible. He could not have been worse. He could not have done a worse job. People are on me because I was the interim head coach at Indiana, and we went 3-4. Well, I kicked guys off the team. We didn't back down. I'll take what I did, and so I'm sure Saturday will take what he did. But he backed down big time. Who's going to be my quarterback? Who are you telling me to be my quarterback? And then he talks about changes, but that doesn't bother me. Jeff Saturday, I've always said this about religious people. My brother goes and asks, my brother is what's the right word? A developer where he does $300 million to $500 million, huge projects, data centers, all kind of stuff, and he's got to fly around. He's got to get money from people. And he always says the same thing, and this is Jeff Saturday to a T. If you go in a meeting, business meeting, not a religious meeting, dipstick, a business meeting, and the person you're meeting with starts the meeting with a prayer, grab your wallet and walk out immediately. That's Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday's the kind of guy that would start a meeting with a prayer and figure out how it's going to be about himself or he's going to get your money. He's a complete fraud. How do I know? I know because I have studied coaches my whole life. On my show, I never say my show. It's always our show. Always. Well, my show, no, that's not, no. I. How many times did that guy say I? How many times? He said I more than anything. That tells me he is a complete fraud. I didn't know this. I didn't realize that the Packers had to get him out of there because he was a clubhouse lawyer that was trying to be more than he was, spewing that kind of BS. Jeff Saturday needs to exit. He was horrible at it. God bless you, Jeff. Go back to Greenberg's show on ESPN and jump around like an idiot. That's where he needs to be. Barrett Sports Media says ESPN wants Saturday back. Good. Bring him back. Let him jump around like an idiot. Talk about pancakes. And let us all go, well, didn't that guy just go 1-7 and have the most embarrassing regime in the history of the Colts? But he's telling us about football. Jeff Saturday, bro, needs to go the hell away. I'll tell you who needs to come back. Trey Wallace. We love us some Trey Wallace. We want us some Trey Wallace. Trey, you've covered the SEC all year. Live. I think you're from L.A., are you not? I think he's live.
I'm not from L.A. I'm from Lower Alabama. So let's not get the two mixed up.
Are you in L.A.?
I am in L.A., yes.
All right. All right, I got to go through something first, okay? Before the game, people made a big deal about no tailgating. You've been to numerous SEC games. What was the vibe like outside in two areas? One, in tailgating, and TCU fans. Were they happy to be there? What was the deal? What was the vibe?
You know, it was weird. Like, I don't know if you've been to SoFi or if a lot of people have been to SoFi Stadium. A lot of the areas that you would think would be for fans were taken up by production trucks from ESPN or anybody else that's in town covering the game or putting on the game. But right when I pulled up to the stadium, the first thing I see is tailgating prohibited sign just sitting right there in the middle of the street. Now, look, TCU fans were in LA in droves. And I would probably say it was 60-40 TCU. And look, they were having a good time. They were out, drinking. Some of them were figuring out ways to hold their own little tailgate in the back of a car as I was kind of rolling up. I mean, it was weird to see at a college football game. I'm not going to lie to you. But I say that to say this. It would have been a really bad day to tailgate because it was raining and it was just cloudy and overcast. It was ugly at the game. Like, Dan, we were getting rained on during the football game. And like you think of SoFi, it's got the roof on it, but like there's this huge mist that's coming in. So like the players are getting rained on, media members, fans. It was just it was a really wild experience last night. So tailgating probably would not have been much fun yesterday.
When you went down, saw both teams on the field, because it looked like on TV early, I was telling Jared, man, this is a mismatch. This is like physically a mismatch. You could just see the size. Did you feel that, Trey?
I felt like Georgia was on a business trip, and they were there to take care of TCU, who was right in front of them. And the biggest thing, when Darnell Washington, 6'7" tight end for Georgia, was out there, there were questions all week if he was going to play or not, Dan. When he's out there making cuts, running 20-yard outs, I'm like, uh-oh, this is not going to be good, for TCU. And then, and they didn't have Keandre Miller, their running back. I don't think that would have made a big difference at all. But I looked at it overall, and I just felt like, man, Georgia was there. And they wanted to make a statement. Like, these guys were not going to hang around with us. Our defense is just as good as last year. Offense was moving the football. Stetson Bennett was doing his thing. And it just, you kind of got that vibe where you wondered if TCU had enough in their tank, Dan. You've been there as a coach. You beat one great basketball team or whatnot, and you're up for that. And then all of a sudden you got to turn right back around and play another very big, important game, and you just don't have that energy after that adrenaline wears off in that first quarter. I think that's what you saw last night with TCU, and Georgia just annihilated them.
How good? I mean, let's just everybody seems to go to age or he can't play in the NFL. How good is Stetson Bennett?
The kid, it's hard for me to see him in the NFL, but he could easily, in my opinion, make a practice squad and work his way up maybe in 2 years to somehow leading team. Like I was talking about this last night with somebody else. And it's like, okay, well, 3 years ago, did we think this 5'10", 185-pound kid was going to have 2 national championships, an SEC championship, the record for most passing yards in a season? He also eclipsed 4,000 yards at Georgia. So this kid's been up against the obstacles. So for me to sit here and say he's not going to make it in the NFL, I can't say that for sure. Somebody might take a chance on him in the 6th and 7th round and see something in the future that they think, this would be something that works long term. And look, a lot of players make a good living sitting on that practice squad, making $700,000, $800,000 a year. Maybe that's something Stetson does for a little bit before, he works on whatever he's going to do later in life. But look, it would not surprise me one bit if he's somehow playing for the Colts in 2 years, Dan.
Wouldn't either surprise me if he's not starting for the Colts in 2 years. One of the things that is lost here, 250 yards rushing, like 6 touchdowns by Bennett, 250. I know the score indicates what a beatdown it was, but I don't even know if it does. I don't know if the score actually indicates how big a beatdown this was when you look at some of the numbers.
You take a look at the stat box after the game. Once I got back late this morning around 2:30 and was writing the following column, you look at the stat box and you look at the numbers they put up on the ground. You look at the 6 total touchdowns for Stetson Bennett. Look what they were able to do with Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. They did what they wanted to do. There was nothing TCU was going to be able to do to stop that offense last night. They ran the ball. Stetson Bennett got outside the pocket numerous times. It was almost like an exhibition game. And that's what kind of threw me off a little bit in that first half, seeing them just go down the field with decisiveness. So the stats stand out because of, and another big thing that I look at, Dan, this is a team that was coming off such a gritty game against Ohio State last week, and they were able to just flip the switch during the week, reset their focus, and come out and put up 60 points in a national championship game. You don't see that very often with many teams in college football, so you got to hat tip the Bulldogs.
I don't care what your answer is to this, all right? Okay. But I'm going to ask you the question. This is a dumb way for an interviewer to ask an interviewee, right? I don't care your answer. I'm saying Georgia's number one until somebody knocks them out of there next year. I don't care.
Georgia should be the number one football team, in my opinion, looking at the quarterbacks and looking what they have coming back on defense and on offense. There's a good chance that Georgia's holding up the trophy again next season. So it's honestly not going to surprise me if they roll with the three-peat. And Kirby was going to steer away from that last night. He wasn't going to talk about that, and that's completely understandable. But I think they've done a good enough job developing quarterbacks behind, Carson Beck, and they've got other guys. But what I'm saying is they've done a good enough job being able to get some of these backups in all year. Hell, the backups got two quarters of work last night in a national championship game. So talk about gaining experience. This Georgia football team to me is special, and I think they're going to be special in 2023. So it would not surprise me. They're the number one team for a long time.
You were at the game, so I don't know if you saw this, but Nick Saban was sitting on the set and David Pollock and these guys hey, Georgia rules college football. You know what I mean?
That was David Pollock is now on Nick Saban's, he got that little list in his pocket that he keeps tabs on people wherever they're at, has somebody outside the house if need be. That's what David Pollock's on now. And look, all that was, you're sitting on national television and you're pretty much embarrassing Nick Saban in a sense. So you just got that goat fuel, as Lane Kiffin calls it. So, great for Pollock. Good job, buddy. You just pissed off a raging bull.
Well, I was telling my wife has been on those sets in softball, and I've been on those sets, and it's a tough situation for a number of reasons. One, Saban's right there, and you said it. Two, it is true. You're on a set, and you can't sugarcoat that because Saban's not there this year. You know what I mean, Trey? So I kind of am glad he said it because it needed to be said. It's true.
I credit David Pollock for not hiding behind, Nick Saban being right next to him. Like
right.
I credit them for doing that because they, and here's another thing too. Let's not forget this. Nick Saban signed up to go to LA to be on that set for the entire game and post game and talking about Georgia. And he knew it was going to be a love fest. But there's a reason for Nick Saban, everything he does. He was in front of recruits last night for about 7 hours. So I give Nick Saban the credit. I give credit to ESPN and David Pollock for saying, okay, we're not going to sugarcoat this thing. And look, it worked out for both sides. Free publicity for Alabama. Georgia wins another championship.
Yeah, look, if you are Nick Saban, you don't say no to that opportunity. You just don't. You get to be a human being in front of recruits. You're not coach guy. You're not in the house selling. You're just being a guy. And no, you don't ever turn that bad boy down. Hey, before I let you go, I don't know. This is maybe the coach in me. But if I'm Ryan Day and the boys at Ohio State, I am kicking myself all day today for letting that one go.
The way that they had played last week, and I went back and watched that game twice, without the commercials, by the way. The way that they played last week, they should have beaten Georgia. They played fantastic. I don't think you could have put together a better semifinal performance than they did last weekend, maybe compared to what TCU did against Michigan, but that's for another day. I think Ohio, no pun intended, by the way, I think Ohio State's sitting here looking at it like, okay, we just completely screwed this one up. We could have gone to Los Angeles. We could have been the ones raising the trophy. We put an end to all this nonsense, about Ryan Day not being able to finish down the stretch. They did. They wasted an opportunity. And I maybe the same way Michigan wasted an opportunity. Just a bad year for the Big Ten. And look, they're about to have expansion in a year or so, and it's going to look different. But for a conference that pumped their chest all season long, they came up mildly short at the end and looked foolish in the process. So, you have to credit the SEC. You got to credit Georgia. But, man, just not a good way to end the season, not a good way to go into the offseason, especially with Harbaugh, NFL mess, Ryan Day, recruiting, getting that going in the right manner. I just could have been a lot of things different, man, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, and Stetson Bennett's holding his second title.
Last thing, I always say gun to head, and I'm sure it's offensive to people, but I always say gun to head. It's a metaphor. Does Jim Harbaugh coach Michigan next year?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because I think there's going to be a big enough name to fill the Broncos job. And I don't think he would, he's not going to go to Houston. That's obvious. I think the Colts job would have been the only one that's pretty much intriguing. But the Broncos job, if Sean Payton, gets his interview out there and knocks it out of the park and that's where he wants to go, then so be it. But I don't know right now. I think the NCAA stuff that came out, I think that might have been put out by the Michigan folks. Not trying to go all conspiracy theory here, but not a big deal. Hey, we've got your back. Don't forget us here in Michigan who got your back. These aren't the biggest violations in the world. They're not going to get you fired. But we'll put this out and we'll show you who's boss. So it's interesting, the stuff going on in Michigan right now. So I'm going to say with the Wolverines next year. But, man, that might be it if they don't win a title because I'm sick and tired of hearing about Harbaugh going back to the NFL.
Man, you are tough. You're tough. You just ripped the Big Ten, even though they had 2 teams in it that lost in 1 possession. You're tough. I like it. I ain't mad about it.
The Big Ten did a really good job. And as somebody who loves all of college football, it's you look at how things played out towards the end with Ohio State and Michigan in that game to close out the regular season. You think, okay, here goes Michigan. They got it. They tore up Ohio State. Then they go lose to TCU, Ohio State, a couple plays here or there. They're playing for a national championship. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying you had 2 teams in it, and you couldn't get one to the national championship. What's that say about your season?
Hey, you're preaching to the choir, and I love it. Hey, travel safe, my friend. I know you got to be out. Thank you for everything. We'll get back. Next week, we'll start talking Alabama basketball, which is a bad bunch of boys, baby.
Ooh, they put a whooping up on Kentucky this past weekend.
Wow.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, Trey. That's Trey Wallace. Follow him at Trey Wallace _ What is wrong with me? He's headed back. Hey, when we come back, the Cardinals fired Kingsbury. They're going to let Murray be involved, but I'm going to tell you why Pat McAfee, that's right, my neighbor, he lives right over there, why Pat McAfee was by far the best thing on TV last night, including the daggone game. We'll be right back.
Back to the Christian thing in the broad picture. Your father, how many kids, if you don't mind saying, do you have several kids? 1 kid?
Seven children.
You have 7 children, so you're a big family man. I did not know that.
Yes.
How many sons? Because this is what I kind of want to dig into.
I have 5 sons.
5 sons, perfect. As a Christian man, how do you feel, like, what is your job when it comes to raising young men in modern America?
Number 1, to teach my boys to know and love Jesus. That would be their primary identity in life. To everything else being completely secondary to that. That is number 1. Number 2 would be to make them capable men, right? To make them well-rounded, to make them able to handle themselves, to make them strong physically, able to fight, able to shoot, able to protect their future, their own families. A great quote, Robert Heinlein, and I'm going to butcher it, but I will attempt it anyways. He basically says that a man should be able to plan an invasion, change a diaper, cook a meal, build a house, he just goes down this list of you should be able to do all these things as a man. And then at the very end, he says specialization is for insects. And I did not always think that. All right. I mean, there was times in my life where I didn't care about learning how to weld or be mechanically inclined or any of these other things. I was like, oh, I just want to be a commando. I just want to go and shoot and do hard stuff. And that was a mistake. I mean, I think I've said this before on, I did 2 ship deployments, 2 ARG deployments as a young frogman. And honestly, I was arrogant at the time. And man, here you're on a ship, which was kind of miserable. And I had a bad attitude about it instead of, because I'm like, I should be on land training more. And instead of going, okay, this is where I'm at. Yeah, I don't have to like it, but there's all these master machinists and welders and guys that are, in charge of charts and navigation, to navigate across the globe. And here I could have, if I would have showed just a little bit of interest, those guys would have been happy to be like, oh yeah, I'll teach you how to weld. I'll teach you how to run a lathe, all these things.
So last night, right now I'm on the Twitter page and I'm on the YouTube chat. And last night we had to turn the television off. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody watched after, 52-7, whatever it was. At least I didn't. I turned off a new series or turned on a new series on Netflix about Bernie Madoff. It was pretty good, actually. I think it's pretty good. Some of you didn't, though. And that's great. I did. Some of you went to bed. And I'm going to the YouTube chat to ask this question because, frankly, our YouTube chat is packed. And I got to ask you, I thought going into the game, Pat McAfee was the best thing on TV. Now, you got to ask me why. I'll tell you why. Because on that set, you got all these stiff guys. Desmond Howard's never said anything in his life. Herbie's never said a word. David Pollack really wants to get in there, and he's really religious and tells people how to live, but he's stiff, and he's just a guy. Corso, I love Lee Corso, but I'm not even going to be honest about Lee Corso. I'm just going to say, you know what I'm talking about with that. And Reese Davis is fantastic. Reese Davis is absolutely fantastic, but there's no juice. There's no juice. And then here comes Pat McAfee. And last night he's standing up. He's giving the WWE speeches. He's at least making it entertainment from Desmond Howard saying, well, this is a really big game for everybody. Okay, it's a really big game for everybody. Really? We didn't know that. Pull this. It'll play jingle bells for you. McAfee stands up. He gives us some excitement. Yes, there is a balance between being excited and being over the top. Of course there is. There's a balance there. But I think McAfee really, truly puts the balance right where it needs to be, right there. Like a teeter, right there. He doesn't go over the top. He doesn't seem like he's totally showing. I wanted to text Lee Fitting, who's a friend of mine. He's the head of football at ESPN. Dude, you need somebody like that in basketball. I love the basketball group. I think they're great. Billis is great. LaFonso's great. Seth Greenberg's a friend. But you need some juice. You turn on the Big Ten Network. Well, Jerry DiNardo is talking to Robert Griffin or whatever Griffin, and then they bring in Jack Buck and Jake Butt, and then you go to basketball, and Robbie Hummel is telling you, and some other guy, Rafael Day. It's all dull. Look, I'm a fan now. I don't want to go back to Brian. I want to watch, and I'm a fan, and I'm sitting there going, thank God. Well, this is a really big game. Desmond Howard's in, and I think they're going to come out and they're going to throw the ball. Shut up. Desmond Howard's he's been on this show forever and hadn't said a word. I mean, Herbie ain't going to say a word. He ain't not going to say nothing. David Pollack, I give him credit. I give Pollack credit. I mean, didn't Pollack at least try to call out Georgia and Nick Saban? That was fantastic. But thank goodness for freaking Pat McAfee. And don't think these things don't matter. I mean, I want you to think about this for a second. You got about 2 hours, maybe more last night of prime time. You got to entertain up until the game. And then you got to come back at halftime. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but what I am telling you is Pat McAfee made the show. You could do a whole show with Reese, McAfee, and a coach. There's no coach on that set. There's nobody that's a coach. And McAfee is entertaining, but McAfee gives you the best information. You can tell that dude is over here in his house at the Thunderdome, which is right down the street, and he is studying. He gives you real information while being wildly entertaining. God, does college basketball need that? Well, I'm Casey Jacobson, and I think, oh, okay. Jeez. I'm sorry. I'll probably get fired. My God. I mean, look at the halftime shows. I turned it on the other day, CBS. You had Gary Parrish, John Rothstein, Roy Hibbert. Oh, my God. The worst of all time, of course, is the Rex Chapman, Candace Parker, Seth Davis, and whoever the host is. Those dudes looked high, stoned, and out of it and didn't know a player's name. But thank God for Pat McAfee last night. Every single show needs a McAfee. Now, yesterday, I mean, this is odd to me, but it's the way of the world. 10 months ago, the Arizona Cardinals gave Kliff Kingsbury a contract extension, and a nice one. There's a picture of Kingsbury in his estate with the open windows, sitting there watching film. You know he's got the hot girlfriend. They gave him an extension through 2027. He got fired yesterday. And the GM, Steve Keim, he stepped down as well. Now, here's the deal. If teams are smart, they'll get back to accountability. You got to do the whole diversity thing. We understand that. Totally understand it. You got to. But if you really get down to it, I'm talking about a general manager's job here, and you really study it, the only guy these guys should hire is Ryan Grigson. Grigson won big time with the Colts. I'm just telling you. Accountability is back, baby. Kirby Smart telling his quarterback after they scored like 50, hey, you weren't good enough, and him accepting it. If I'm an owner, I'm like, I want that in my life. The Jacksonville Jags, why do you think they got good? Because Urban Meyer at least brought a little bit of accountability into the place before they all whined, cried, bitched, moaned, and got him out of there. And then the other thing, which is completely idiotic, right? They're going to let Kyler Murray have a say in the new coach. I said that. I wanted to let that wash over me for a second. Kyler Murray is so ridiculous at his job and so unlikable. His teammates don't like him. He had to have in his contract a 4-hour-a-week study session. Don't be on the internet. Don't be playing video games, little Kyler. Don't do it. Because, well, we would like you to do your job that we're paying you hundreds of millions for. I guess if you're going to pay an idiot $230 million, I guess you probably should let him have a say in the coach. But I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it at all. This is good news. Damar Hamlin, discharged from the hospital, remaining in Buffalo. He's going to be in another hospital. Breathing tubes are out, walking, that kind of thing. That is great news. Let me ask you a question. So I went to church on Sunday. The pastor was great. His name is Aaron Brockett, Traders Point Christian Church. Great. I went on a religious walkabout years ago. I told the priest I'm on a religious walkabout. He's like, Dan, you should be. Everybody should go. So I'm still on it. So I'm on a religious walkabout. I find this church. So the other day, the preacher, Aaron Brockett, says this. He says, look, be bold in your ask. Pray to God. And then at the end, thank God for all that he has done for you. Now, we as Dan Orlovsky's fake nonsense on TV, Ryan Clark's fake nonsense on TV, we dove deep into prayer. We dove deep into it. We got into prayer. And a lot of people are like, hey, the power of prayer is real. Do yourself a favor. Thank God now. God, you listened to me. You did. You listened to me. You listened to me, and I thank you for it. Because it looks, by all accounts, that Damar Hamlin is going to be fine. And if you believe, as I believe, that the power of prayer is absolute, then say thank you. Father God, thank you for answering my prayers and letting this young man get to where he looks like he is going to be recovered. Thank you. There's nothing wrong with saying thank you. I tell kids all the time when I give a speech, hey, you, say thank you. I always tell kids, you want the car keys? Tell your parents thank you. You're a little girl, you're 16, you want to wrap your dad around your finger? Say thank you. Everything he does, say thank you. The dad will give you the car keys. Shoot, he might buy never mind. Stop. Sometimes I go too far. But anyway, so I'm 60 years old. It's time that I give you my vast knowledge of things, and thank you is magical. So, and it works for God too. If you're that deep in prayer, saying thanks, pretty good way. I'm not going to give this guy any credit whatsoever. His name is Quay Walker. Quay Walker breaks his silence on Twitter after he shoved a member of the medical staff of the Detroit Lions. Look, There are three things that idiots always say. I'm a man. It's in the past. Only God can judge me. I've heard idiots say this for as long as I've been around idiots, and I have been around idiots. And this guy's an idiot. Do we have his tweets? What do we have of his? What do we have of Quay Walker? I want to apologize publicly about what happened. I reacted off my emotions, idiots, again, and take full responsibility for making another stupid decision. Since then, I've questioned myself on why did I do what I did when the trainer was doing his job. I was wrong. All right. I understand I have to face everything that comes with the decision I made, definitely paying for it now. Also to explain my frustration. I wasn't upset about being kicked out. I knew I'd messed up again. Was wrong for what I did. Couldn't believe I did it again. To the Detroit Lions, the entire training staff, including the person, I did that too. I'm sorry. You look like a little child. And this is where you need fathers. I don't know whether this guy's got a father in his life. I don't know. You guys care about I don't. But my deal is this. Tony Dungy said it, and I'm going to say it. We need fathers. I mean, what we saw out of this guy walking in the tunnel was complete a child. Now, you can say, well, you apologize. So what? Easiest thing to do is get with some agent and say, man, you got to apologize. How about don't be a jerk in the first place for the second time? Here's an apology video.
Rookie mistake, selfish, just a selfish act of me. Very stupid and dumb. I'd say immature of me once again to make the same mistake twice. I just always seem to overreact at times, and I did it again last night. But
did you know you were pushing an athletic trainer from the Lions?
To be honest, split second right after I did it, I asked myself, why did I just do that? Because as soon as it happened, I'm like, man, I'm going through this again. But that was.
See, people are going to say, and I will say this, he seems like a really nice kid. I mean, he does. And people are going to say, well, I'm suspending him for about the first half of next year. And I'm suspending that fat ass number 94, Devontae Wyatt, as well. I might suspend Wyatt more. Because Wyatt went out of his way. Wyatt actually didn't have anything to react to other than being a punk when you look at the video. So, yeah, oh, he's a nice kid, and I hope he learns from it. Okay. Yeah, man. A lot of ways to learn from it. One of the ways to learn from it is take money out of people's pockets. What they did, I've never seen anything dumber. Call me whatever names you want. That's the dumbest, most punk-ass thing that I have seen on a football field in my life. Actually, anywhere, anytime. That's the most punk thing. It was like, what are you going to do? Surround the guy when the fat guy came over, Wyatt? Is that what he's going to do? Was he just going to come over? And what? Is this like being, when I was a kid? I'm very sensitive to this. When I was a kid, there was a couple fat kids. Bunch surrounded me in Gary Westside's bathroom. And one of them looked just like that guy, just a big fat, I'm trying not to swear, kind of walking up on me, all Fat Albert style. Next thing you know, boom, I ran right through him. Had to find the smallest guy. I'm very sensitive to that because that was a punk move. All right, let's move it along. Robert Griffin III accuses the Texans of being racist. Oh, okay. All right. He accuses the Texans of being racist because they fired Lovie Smith a year after firing David Culley. Well, the easiest thing in the world to do was to, and is, to say he's racist. That's it. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. It is. Oh, man, you're racist. You didn't do what I want done. You're racist. You didn't do it how I want it done. You're racist. Everybody's racist. 2 black coaches to tank and then firing after 1 year shouldn't sit right with anybody. It sits right with me when you get your brains beat out and like Nathaniel Hackett gets fired and away you go. Why are you tanking? Hell, you drafted a quarterback, you put him in. I got a story. See, RG3, maybe I'm wrong about this, but RG3 is sitting next to me at the NCAA Final Four. I'm in a suite. The suite next to me is Baylor's suite. Chip and Joanna Gaines. You know those two from that show? Trey Wingo was in there and some others. RG3 was in there with his wife and a bunch of people. RG3, and I'm sitting at the end, like I'm sitting where the wall of my suite is their suite, so the guys are right here. And my wife's all enthralled with Chip and Joanna Gaines, and I like them too, right? RG3's there, and he's wearing a basketball jersey with Griffin on the back and Baylor, which is fine. But he is such an immature clown that even his wife walked up and stood where the food is up top. And I'm listening to two guys, and it wasn't Chip Gaines, it was the other guy. I say, man, is that guy an idiot? Talking about RG3. And Gaines didn't say anything. Just kind of looked. They're probably friends. But at one point, the guy goes, God dang. In a little southern drawl, that guy's an idiot. So I started watching, and he's jumping around like a child, saying stupid things, trying to get attention, and guys are trying to watch Baylor win their first national championship in their history. And I'm sitting there going, wow, look at this. RG3 acting like and so I've never respected the guy. Ever since then, I'm like, all right, seems like a good enough guy. But the easiest thing to do is to say, oh, that's racist. And nobody should be good with it. Why not? Hey, let me tell you something. This is me as a coach. This is just me. Black or white, I don't care. Black or white, it don't matter to me. You know as a coach, when you sign up, if you don't win, you can be fired. We've seen white coaches. We've seen black coaches. We've seen Hispanic coaches. Hey, if you don't win and we don't feel that you are leading us in a positive direction, you're going to get fired. I felt that as a coach. I'm a white guy. Absolutely. I felt that as an assistant. Everybody does. So if you think it's a tank job, then good. But how about this? Does anybody talk about the reason that the Houston Texans are in such disrepair is because their quarterback, who, by the way, is African-American, decided that for whatever's true or not, that 30 women, not 1, not 10, not 20, 30 women are going to accuse him of sexual misconduct to the point where they've got to get him out of town. That's the reason that this franchise is in disarray. That right there. Not who they hired as a head coach, although neither of the head coaches showed that they can do anything to turn it around. Racism, I'm telling you, it's just a matter of what do you want. Do you want equal treatment but special, or do you want equal treatment? Which one you want? Because when you're coaching, and everybody will tell you, as a coach, you win 2 games in a year out of 17 or 3, you got a chance to be fired. Particularly in an era where, you know what? In this era, you could be fired in the middle, see Nathaniel Hackett. Let me ask you another question. Nobody ever says this. But based on his body of work over the last, 6, 7 years. Now, I'm one that didn't think Lovie Smith should have been fired from the Bears. I'm a big Lovie Smith fan. I thought what he did with the Bears and what the Bears have done since, you can say he was one of the great coaches in Bears history, but whatever happened, happened. You tell me last 6 years, what's Lovie Smith done to be a head coach in the NFL, to get that type of salary? Why was he hired in the first place? Because he's a defensive coordinator on a horrible team? I don't know. Could ask that. I would argue that the Houston Texans gave a hell of an opportunity to 2 guys, Culley and Lovie Smith. Both, by the way, African American. And to me, that don't even matter. Not even a little. So, hey, what do you want? Do you want equal? Or do you want equal but special treatment? I wouldn't have fired him, but I wouldn't have hired him. See, to me, coaching matters. And this is where Jeff Saturday would be out of here so freaking fast, his head would spin in Indianapolis. Like, the players don't respect him. Some players are lobbying for him, but that's more like lobbying for themselves. They don't respect him. He's too much of an eye guy. He lost control of the whole thing. And next thing you know, he's the guy talking. I want him gone now. I don't think I'd have fired Lovie Smith, but I sure the hell would say, Jeff, it's great, man. You're awesome. Go back. I think Greenberg will hire you. You can jump around on TV like an idiot for 2 or 3 days, a week. It's great. It's great. You're not good enough to do games. You're not smart enough to sit on a set of an actual show. But look, jump around, act like an idiot, talk about pancakes, and away you go, and everything will be good. That's what I would do with Saturday. I would have kept Lovey, but I'm not there. And I got to tell you something else. RG3 absolutely has the right to call it racism. And the owner absolutely has the right to fire his ass. Not him, but Cully and Lovey. But again, you know what? I'll be called racist for that take. That's what we do. Anything we don't like, we don't want to discuss. We just want to call you racist. Not surprised. I told you this. RG3, complete idiot. I watched him. I was shocked. Absolutely shocked at what an idiot he is. I just stood there and went, wow. And then the one dude goes, man, he's a freaking idiot. RG3's a freaking idiot, huh? And I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm sure that's racist too, but hey, look, I was raised in Gary, Indiana, where we had, well, look up Gary, Indiana, and we treat everybody the same, generally crappy. And we didn't get offended by every little thing. I'll just tell you, we didn't get offended by every little tweet. And let me go to this before I go to Johnny Venerable. I understand Skip Bayless put a terrible tweet out. All right, I get it. But let me ask you a question. You had the President of the United States lie about the death at the January 6th thing, and no one's upset about it. President of the United States gets right up in front of us and lies, and we don't care. But we're so mad about a tweet from an idiot. World is nuts. Johnny Venerable, Phoenix Cardinals, he's going to join. We're going to discuss the Cardinals. Hey, look, Kyler Murray going to have a say. Good for Kyler Murray. Kliff Kingsbury got himself an extension. He got fired. Good for Kliff Kingsbury. Let me tell you something. The goal of the American worker should be to be a coach, get fired, and have years left on your contract. Heck yeah. Are you kidding me? I got top 5 coming up. I got the top 5 routes that I have seen in championship games, and I've got stock up, stock down. My boy Calipari, my guy Mike Woodson, they're involved as well. Johnny Venerable next. We'll talk some Phoenix Cardinal, what's going on Black Monday.
Man, just getting into the craziness. We've got the college football playoff championship game coming up on Monday. But looking back, your opinion, semifinal Saturday was just so wild, and getting to watch these games and coming down to the wire and the back and forth. Let's start off with Michigan TCU. You know, you got Max Duggan and the way that he played, Jim Harbaugh and his squad. It just seemed like they kind of laxed out there in the middle, and TCU took advantage. And what were your takeaways of how TCU is now playing for a national championship?
I was pretty stunned that it happened and pretty stunned by the way it happened. So I guess going in, if you were to tell me an upset's going to happen, not the craziest thing in the world. I didn't expect it, but it's not a wild concept that a 9-point favorite or underdog can win a game. When you start to see it play out and you realize Michigan has these weapons that have gotten them to where they are, and they are electing not to use those weapons. Inside zone was a figment of your imagination in that game. It just didn't happen. Therefore, using J.J. McCarthy's legs really didn't happen. The way that you had seen it happen earlier in the season, using Donovan Edwards down inside the 5, where they got inside twice and scored 0 points from those trips, didn't happen. So I was sort of incredulous watching how it was unfolding. So here's what's funny. We were at the Peach Bowl, And that game's getting ready to happen. And I was on the field watching warmups, and I was standing there talking. Let me whisper. I was standing there talking with Urban Meyer, and he is watching the video board along with a lot of the other Ohio State staffers. And so it's kind of always a surreal environment. If you've ever been at that late playoff game, the early game's happening as your game's getting warmed up. And if you're in a stadium that has a big video board, like Mercedes-Benz has that ribbon board, it's on and the players can see it. And certainly the fans are reacting. So when TCU would score, Urban Meyer's just like going crazy, like a pure fanboy, just cheering like openly. And you're seeing some of the players on the field acknowledge it. And you're seeing some of the staffers on the sideline acknowledge it and like cheer. And all the while you're saying, hold on, we got a game that's going to kick off here in an hour. I'm not saying they weren't.
You know, when I was coaching, and then when I got into the media, my brother, who's a contract attorney, was then, isn't now, said, don't think that any contract you're ever going to sign is like a coaching contract. Just get that out of your mind right now, where you get fired and they pay you the whole thing. Johnny Venerable, reporter and host for the Phoenix Cardinals, joins us right now. You can follow him at JOHNNYVENERABLE. You see it right there. You and I were talking. Kingsbury now is owed, what'd you say, $30 million over the course, the life of this contract, Johnny?
Yeah. He got a pay raise from about $5.5 million to $7.5 million with this extension he signed last spring, and he's going to have that paid out to him at least for the next 4 years, and that fifth year was an option year. But until another NFL franchise opts to hire Kliff Kingsbury in some capacity, that's going to be owed to the Bidwells. And it was the Bidwells doing. Michael Bidwell, team president and owner, signed he and Steve Keim to those extensions last spring following the 11-6 season. But subsequently, the team underperformed. That's putting it mildly this year at 4-13. So in an effort to get a clean slate for Kyler Murray and the rest of the Arizona Cardinals and their fan base, you had to part ways with them, and in doing so, you got to write a fat check.
Johnny, I want to go back. Let's go back 11-6. And, okay, the playoff didn't go the way it wanted to. Kyler Murray struggled in the playoff game, fine. But they were 11-6, and Kingsbury would have gone, I think you said, into a lame duck season. How much of the season, in your view, maybe it's none, maybe it's a bunch, so was kind of circumvented with the publicity given to Kyler Murray's contract, specifically the amount of money and, you know, that whole 4-hour deal that he had to study? I mean, that's divisive, it seems to me, going way back.
Yeah, and I'll give Kliff Kingsbury credit. Usually he was the one that had to face the media and clean up all these external messes that were happening off the field. They also, by the way, had to fire 2 coaches in season, one for a domestic violence charge and the other for potentially groping a woman in Mexico City during their Monday Night Football game. So Kliff, is he a great NFL coach? I don't know, but he's an adult and he's a professional, and he took a lot of arrows when the organization probably should have took them for him. But as far as the Kyler Murray saga goes, it was kind of a cloud over the offseason. But again, you win games in the fall in the NFL, that goes away. And that study clause, that came specifically directly from owner Michael Bidwell. And should they have put that in there? No. And the blowback is considerable. They regret putting it in. I know that for a fact. And, you know, Kyler is a committed player when he's in the building. He gets along with just about everybody. He studies hard in the building. It was when he left the facility, they weren't 100% sure or confident that that was going to continue. And here's what I will say. The Bidwells, Michael Bidwell, they've never handed out this kind of money before, $230 million. They've never had a homegrown franchise quarterback. So everybody was kind of playing in new waters a little bit. But make no mistake, Kyler Murray, his agent, Eric Burkhart, knew exactly what they were doing over the course of the offseason to make sure he got paid. And then look what happened. He tore his ACL. So it's a good thing if you're Kyler Murray, he got paid.
All right. Last year, Hard Knocks came into the Colts. And everybody said, no, it's no big deal. No, we don't mind. No. You know what happened to the start of this year? I asked the same people, and they're like, yeah, it was a pain in the backside. I mean, I'm telling you. Yeah, we're so glad to have these damn cameras out, right? I mean, honest to God, when you're going through it, everybody's on board, Johnny. Yeah, this is great. Yeah. I say a distraction. What say you?
Well, I mean, I would say it's not great for a team that maybe has aspirations of the postseason and everything that could go wrong does go wrong. I think the Cardinals, when they signed up for this, thought it would be a showcase of their renewed culture. They've got their GM, their head coach, and their quarterback all locked in. And then you fast forward by the end of Hard Knocks, which airs the last episode tomorrow on HBO. The GM's gone. He's taken a leave of absence. Kyler Murray's gone. Kyler Murray's basically had no screen time during Hard Knocks, especially since his ACL tear. And Kliff Kingsbury is going to be fired in tomorrow's episode. I think Hard Knocks is better suited if you're gonna force teams to do it in season for a team that's almost assured a postseason berth. A Kansas City, a Buffalo every year. The Cardinals, while they did make the playoffs last year, and you have to give them credit for that, they were not stable enough to be able to have Hard Knocks in their building. They bit off more than they can chew. And the episodes, frankly, and I watch them, we do a post-game show every Wednesday night, they're a little bit watered down. You can only show so much J.J. Watt B-roll, having fun, screwing around with the guys. There wasn't enough winning that was involved, and then they were afraid to kind of go the complete opposite end because the Cardinals, make no mistake, every team that's on Hard Knocks in season has some say about what's going to be on TV. So it's not the complete inside job, inside baseball that you thought you were getting.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. And I want to go back to that because people think that the teams don't. Chris Ballard told me the teams have certain editorial rights. Yeah, they absolutely do. The Cardinals had a big blow-up with running back Eno Benjamin. There was an altercation after the L.A. Rams win in Los Angeles that didn't make the show. Why didn't that make the show? The situation with Sean Kugler in Mexico City, that didn't make the show. Steve Keim's leave of absence for health concerns was barely a blurb on the show. Kyler Murray, once he tore his ACL, that was it. We never went inside Kyler Murray's home. We never got a tour. We never really got a sense of who Kyler Murray is off the field. So all of that to say, I mean, the Cardinals had their fingerprints all over Hard Knocks. When you look at the Cardinals situation right now, and Kyler Murray coming off of a knee, is a little guy, runs, and we've seen running quarterbacks get banged up. Two questions. General, there's only 32 of these jobs. I understand it, right? How attractive is the Arizona Cardinals jobs, number one, for a general manager, number two, for a head coach?
Well, I'm biased. I cover the team. I live here in Arizona. I think the GM job is pretty damn tempting, knowing that your predecessor and Steve Keim got 10 years and multiple contract extensions and was allowed to wait out a lot of losing seasons. So I don't buy the notion that Michael Bidwill is suddenly running the Houston Texans. The Cardinals have more patience than they're given credit for. And as far as the head coaching job, I think this next head coach is going to get ample time. And I think they're going to buy him from the next head coach on Kyler Murray. But if Kyler Murray doesn't come back healthy for whatever reason, and there's nothing to believe me to this point that he won't, that this next head coach will be able to make a decision a couple of years into the deal. And if they have to pivot, God willing, because of an injury or he's just not the same player, they'll figure it out. But I don't know. You look at the landscape of the NFC West, it's diminishing. It's not the gauntlet of quarterbacks you're going to face in the AFC. I look at a team like Denver that's got Mahomes and Herbert in their division. That's a very difficult ask. I don't care how much money those Walmart people have. And then you think about the fact the Cardinals have the third overall pick. You're going to get a complete creative control, being able to draft who you want. They're going to have ample cap space. And if Kyler Murray does come back, and this is a big if, but I mean, you rewind the clocks back about 15 months. He was the MVP lead candidate when the Cardinals were 10-2. If somebody can come in here, an offensive coach that can pair with Kyler Murray and take what Kliff Kingsbury did with him and elevate him to that next level, assuming that he's going to be okay physically, and this is the only major injury he's ever had, to give him credit, dating back to his phenomenal high school days and, of course, Heisman Trophy winning season in Oklahoma. the Cardinals are going to be in a good spot. They're just in a difficult position right now, given how polarizing this season was.
I want to go back. You're right, 10-2. Colts beat them last year on Christmas Day, and I got to tell you, in Indianapolis, in Indy, it was like, Johnny, we just beat a really good team. Yeah. This is why I try to tell people. I coached for 27 years. This is why coaches are so uptight all the time. Because you said it, 10 months ago, 10-2, and now the coach is out, right?
Yeah.
Life comes at you fast, Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah, and this team has talent. Like, make no mistake about it. Like, will they trade a DeAndre Hopkins to relieve some salary cap? I don't know. That's certainly on the table. But they have done a decent enough job to supplement talent. And again, they've got the 3rd overall pick. We just watched Jalen Carter kick ass last night. He could very well be an Arizona Cardinal. Will Anderson could be an Arizona Cardinal. Maybe that changes the dynamic of who wants this job, assuming Kyler Murray is back and ready to go. And I think the losses that they sustained at the end of last year were basically inexcusable. I mean, they needed one more win down the stretch of about 6 games, and they lock up the NFC West. And the Rams don't have home field advantage in the postseason to get them and to win a Super Bowl. They needed to beat the Colts on Christmas Day. They didn't do it. They went to Detroit and got embarrassed. They lost to a bad Seattle team in Week 18, and that was outside of having D-Hop. They were predominantly healthy. That's a Kliff Kingsbury problem. And we saw it at Texas Tech in the Big 12, and we saw it every single year in the NFL. His win percentage becomes obsolete in November and December. I'm talking sub 300 win percentage out of 1,000. So that was the biggest thing, the adjustments or lack thereof from Kliff Kingsbury, especially in the second half of games. Toward the end of this season, they led or were tied in 6 of their final 7 games and lost all of them. So it's unfortunate for Kliff, but it's also a problem the Cardinals have to fix. They have to mitigate, and they have to get Kyler Murray with this next head coach, whether they're an offensive or just leader of men, defensive guy, to elevate Kyler Murray, to get the best out of Kyler Murray. Because we talked about Kliff Kingsbury's financials. They pair in comparison to what they're going to pay Kyler Murray, $230 million, over $160 million in guarantees.
Last thing on Kingsbury and his money. Did the fans, I mean, you mentioned it, struggled at the end of the year, but did win 11 games. Were the fans, where were people when they announced Kingsbury's extension a year ago?
They were shocked. I think fans want consistency, continuity. They don't want to be looked at like these franchises, like a Houston, like a Cleveland once upon a time, that consistently turn coaches and administrative staff over. And here's what I will say. The Cardinals have not had too many 11-win seasons in the history of their franchise. So I understand what Michael Bidwell was trying to do, but it was blindly ignoring the optics of how last season fell. So the fans were shocked. This fan base, I think, had a little bit more grace for Kliff. Steve Keim was really public enemy number 1. Sure, he's had some good trades, but that was his 3rd coach he was able to hire. Think about that. He got Bruce Arians once upon a time, and then after Bruce left, it was Steve Wilkes, who was a disaster, one and done in Arizona, and then Kliff. And then you're thinking about, was this guy going to get another head coach, being able to hire him in the desert? His draft picks, his first-round resume was putrid. I'm talking about like a 10% hit rate. So he was the big one for most people. Like, Steve Keim should not get any luxury or security. But if you're going to double down on Kliff Kingsbury, you got to double down on the guy who hired him. So as shocking as that was last spring that they extended him, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was even more shocked yesterday when they opted to fire Kliff Kingsbury, not because he didn't deserve it, but because Michael Bidwell ate that money. He's going to eat that money, those $30 million on Kliff, and God knows how much on Steve Keim indefinitely. And that is not something his late father, Bill Bidwell, would have done. The old Cardinals, they would have paid out bad coaches just for the sake of maybe being cheap to save a buck. The Cardinals want to win, and Michael Bidwell, I'll give him credit indefinitely for this. I don't know if he knows how to win, but he wants to win, and he's not afraid to spend money. They're the only team outside of, I think, one other team that has a private jet. I've been to their practice facility. I've been to their stadium. It's first class all the way. People want to live in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. They just need to find somebody that can come in and build a winning culture, and for Michael Bidwell to step back and let them do their job.
Hey, last thing, Johnny, before I let you go, I want to go back to your division. I saw this the other day. There's some debate on whether Sean McVay's coming back.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty shocking. You talk about, I mean, the Cardinals endure 5-6 win seasons damn near every year. Their coaches aren't walking away, but I would imagine it has something to do with, I mean, they went all in. They sacrificed and mortgaged draft picks. You got guys like Aaron Donald reaching the wrong side of 30. Matthew Stafford's been banged up. There was word he was going to walk away last year and take the Amazon, color gig. I think it's a conceivable proposition. My only concern, if you're a Cardinal fan, is does Sean Payton then slide into that opening should he depart? Because apparently it's very important for Sean to be able to stay in Los Angeles. But I look at that situation. They have good ownership. The Kroenke and company, they've done a nice job. I've been to that stadium. It's the nicest stadium in the NFL. It's first class. It hosted the national championship game last night. But from a personnel standpoint, a roster construction, I think they've got a long way to go. It will be a godsend for the Arizona Cardinals, who are 2 and about 100 against Sean McVay. They've only won 2 games against Sean McVay in their tenure. For him to step away would be huge for the Cardinals.
Last thing. Your division again, San Francisco, great record. Purdy doing good things. What do you think? How good are they?
They're damn good. Their infrastructure, I mean, the Cardinals are interviewing 2 of their personnel guys for their future GM. That should tell you what the Cardinals think of what the Niners have been able to do. And it just goes to show you the Cardinals and the Niners were both playing backups of backups in Week 18 in Santa Clara. And the San Francisco 49ers put it on the Cardinals almost to the point of a running clock. If that doesn't speak to culture, I don't know what will. I wasn't a big Trey Lance guy, but, man, you talk about the ultimate safety net. If they hit on this kid in the 7th round, he mirrors everything that Kyle Shanahan wants to do, right? Plug and play, a Kirk Cousins-esque, doesn't make mistakes. I think it pains me to say this. They are so well coached, I think it doesn't matter. They hit the jackpot. I think they're going to have home field throughout the course of the NFC, and I think they're going to host the NFC Championship game. I've got Philadelphia going down in the divisional round. So can they go up against a Chiefs, a Bills, potent offense and go score for score? I don't know. But that defense is the real deal, as is DeMeco Ryans. So they have to be considered, I would say, one of 4 teams that can win the Super Bowl.
It is amazing. Like, it's just amazing. Okay, Jimmy Garoppolo, if that kid Dart last year in the middle of the field intercepts Stafford, they win. They're up 10. They would have the ball. He drops it. Or Jimmy Garoppolo's going to 2 Super Bowls. They put him over on the side. They start Trey Lance. He gets hurt. We bring in Garoppolo. He gets hurt. Son of a...
I know.
Like,
it's got to be sickening for the Cardinals.
For them.
Yeah, good for them. Not good for everybody else.
No, it's all you can say, Johnny, is like, hey, man, good for you. God bless you,
Yeah.
Johnny, great stuff, man. Hope to have you back on. Thank you.
Would love it. Thank you, gentlemen.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm telling you, I sit there and I go, man, it was Black Monday. Where'd everybody go? Where'd my Colts go? Are we going to keep Jeff Saturday? We can't keep. Do we? Like, who else are you expecting? I don't know. It seems like one of the things, and you know this, one of the things that you're really afraid of when you are trying to fire somebody is, man, we don't want to be called racist. And you saw it. It's funny. Look, we need to, in this country, learn to treat everybody the same. We do. We need to treat everybody the same. And once we do that, we'll be just fine. I also, by the way, I want to make this, I will be offended by no tweets. If somebody's going to say, well, didn't you see what Skip Bayless? I'm not offended. It's a tweet. That's my New Year's resolution. It's tweet. That's going to be my new thing, Dylan. It's tweet. We're so offended. It's tweet. Hey, once we start getting mad about the President of the United States lying to us, that's important stuff, but not a tweet. Skip Bayless said, well, look, it's a tweet. Shannon Sharp or Sterling Sharp or whatever Sharp didn't show up to work over a tweet. What are we doing? It's a tweet. That's it. We ain't talking about practice, a game. We ain't talking about life or death. We're talking about a tweet. That's what we're talking about. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to join me. Oh my God, he said this. Oh my God. I don't know what to tell you. It's no big deal. Words. Sticks and stones can break my bones, and words will never hurt me. That is how actually I grew up. Now, I don't know how you grew up, but my new thing, ladies and gentlemen, and I would love you to join me, hashtag it's just a tweet. EBI. I'm offended. It's a tweet. All right, last thing before I go to break. I got to tell you something, and I want you to look at me close. I want you to look at me close, and I want some response to this, particularly on the YouTube chat. I've had enough. And when I say enough, my brain is going to implode. I want to fight the royal family. I like Meghan Markle. I thought Meghan Markle was hot in Suits. I wouldn't know Meghan Markle from Megyn Kelly, although one is hot, a little bit older and blonde, and the other is kind of a child. I've had enough of Prince Harry. I've had enough of Kate Middleton. I've had enough of Prince William. I've had enough of Prince Edward in a can. Remember when you were a kid, you'd call somebody and go, hey, do you have Prince Edward in a can? Or you'd call a grocery store. Do you guys have Prince Edward in a can? And they'd go, yeah, well, you got to let him out. I'm just saying, I have had enough of whining about tweets. It's just a frickin' tweet. Well, it's a window to the soul. Shut up. And I have had enough, ladies and gentlemen. I have had enough of freaking the royal family every day with these guys. Every day. We got the royal family. Every day I got Meghan Markle is mad at the Queen, and the Queen is mad at Meghan Markle, and Prince Edward, and Prince Philip, and Prince Harry. I've had enough. I equate it to this. You know the guy they call Stink? Used to call him on ESPN? His name was Mark Schlereth. Now he's at Fox. Stink told me one time. I said, Stink, why did you leave your national radio show on ESPN and go back local in Denver? You know what he told me? Because I got tired of talking about Brett Favre, LeBron James, and the Yankees. Well, that's how I am with the royal family. I'm tired of hearing about these bald-ass people, and I'm bald. Dan, you've never heard the Prince Edward bit baby Gronk. I don't know what that is. One of them used to show up on Epstein Island. One of them did. They're all a bunch of wackies. You listen to their life, they got nothing, and all of a sudden Prince Harry's telling everyone he killed like 300 people. And some girl from a sitcom is married to him, and now she's important to us. Just stop the presses. Get rid of these people. The one woman right there, Kate Middleton, how miserable does she look right there? It's miserable. Look, she's gotten skin. I mean, it's miserable life. I've paid attention. I watched The Crown. Miserable. In fact, I put The Crown on pause because I'm tired of these people. I'm just saying. Yes, Prince Albert in a can was tobacco, you morons. Yes. All right. All right. Last thing. Our president went to the border. And I'm going to get into the city of El Paso here in a minute. But I got to tell you, the city of El Paso, you cleaned up all the bad stuff. The president needs to see the bad stuff. You need to see the bad stuff when you're going down there. This can't just be a photo op, ladies and gentlemen. You got to see the bad stuff. You got to talk to the agents. You got to do what we've done on this show with Dan Pastorini and Brian Urlacher. You got to talk to the people that are actually there, learn the story, and fix the problems. That does not happen, ladies and gentlemen. It does not happen with a photo op. No. Not at all. Not even a little. So I got to tell you, at the end of the day, we've got the most fraudulent president we've ever had doing the most fraudulent things, Lee Ross, and I've had enough. And I'm going to probably sit here every day, thank you for the coffee, and complain about it and whine about it and about it until it gets straightened out. But we're mad about Skip Bayless's tweet. When we come back, I got stock up, I got stock down. It includes Mike Woodson, John Calipari, and I got my 5 biggest blowouts that I have seen. Last night, oh my God, last night was unbelievable. And you Colts fans, stay right here. Your players are talking. Bad players are talking. And when bad players are talking like Mo Alley Cox, I got to laugh at them. I'm sorry. I just got to laugh at him. We'll be right back.
Joe visited our southern border for the first time in his career yesterday. But when I say southern border, I mean that very loosely, given he saw and did far less as president of the United States than any one of our Fox News border correspondents see and do on any given day. But how nice of them to clean up the homeless encampments, by the way. Wouldn't want the reality of the situation to aesthetically F up the optics, right? But this whole sham trip is too little, 2 years too late. He should have just met with the cartels and said, "You're welcome," since he's funding them and funding them well. Since he took office, over 5 million illegals that we know of have entered our country to live in the shadows and suck it and we the taxpayers dry. This president nor his border czar Kamala give a damn about the invasion, and neither do the so-called Republicans who signed on to that $1.7 trillion omnibus spending bill that funded the invasion, but not the protection of our southern border. And now the Republicans have the House majority. If they allow another penny to go to DHS without a border enforcement mechanism, let God strike their political careers dead on the spot. Securing the border is not that hard, folks. Trump was well on his way to doing just that before Joe came in and undid it all. So let's start out by impeaching Mayorkas, who not only lied about that whole whipping scandal, but has sold Border Patrol agents down the river every single day since he's held that post. This is elementary school stuff. First, we need a physical barrier that keeps these illegals out. Yes, the wall. States should not be forced to use shipping containers to protect our country while the Democrats leave it defenseless and encourage the free-for-all. Then, we need to send more judges to the border to process these BS asylum claims on site and on the spot. 9 out of 10 don't qualify for asylum, so turn them around and send them right on back, because I guarantee you they'll stop trying to come here under false pretenses if they know they're going to get turned around the moment they fraudulently step foot on our soil.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I do think they need to put a statue of Stetson Bennett up. I'm not sure why. I don't know. But their players are saying it. So I am going to say it. And I got to tell you, the royal family, you give me gas. Before I get to stock up and stock down, I have a theory. And that theory includes horse bleep players that lose 6 in a row, 7 in a row, and stink shouldn't speak. They certainly shouldn't speak about management. But we got one here. We got a nice kid. He's a nice kid. Kid named Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox played basketball at VCU. The Colts drafted him, and now he gets to play tight end, and he's terrible. He can catch a ball in here, but he's not. He's huge, and he's a great dude, but he's terrible. So Mo Alley Cox was asked about the quarterback situation, and of course, like all rotten players, he has an opinion. Mo Alley Cox says, hey, look, stability is the most important position. at the most important position. I've been here 6 years, been through, 8, 9 quarterbacks. Next year, I'll probably be playing with a rookie. Makes your job harder. Cadences are different with 3 different quarterbacks. Their timing is different. Everyone wants you to run your route a different way. We're changing plays every week. Every quarterback likes their own plays, so we have to change plays. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he's wrong at all. But I'm just saying bad players on losing teams should shut up. I'll always say that. I was a bad player on a losing team in high school or college, excuse me. You know what I did? I shut up. I was always the guy that they went to. When a press guy wanted a quote. And when we were getting our brains beat out, my second half of my senior year at Indiana, I'm like, yeah, I'll be here. I'll give you whatever, but I ain't going to talk about Coach Knight or my teammates. I'm just saying, hey, look, we stink. And we got to keep working hard. I'm not going to call out management. So I practiced what I preached. Now, if you are a Colts player, I don't disagree with Mo Cox, or you are a player on a bad team, and you are lobbying for that coach to stay, then I am going to place you on the too dumb to play in the NFL list. I made a list. They currently include only 2 guys, Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt. Those 2 idiots are on the too stupid to play in the NFL list. Now, anybody on the Colts, and somebody told me DeForest Buckner did. DeForest Buckner, he of the most overrated, lacking of leadership guy in the history of the NFL, is advocating for Jeff Saturday. Now, I haven't seen, I've just been told, that means he is on the too dumb to play in the NFL list. That's it. I'm just saying. Too dumb. Too dumb to play. You can't play. All right. Let's go to my top 5 beatdowns in big championship games list. You ready for this? My top 5 beatdowns. Last night was a beatdown. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Last night was a beatdown. Last night was the kind of beatdown that, well, frankly, you just don't like to see, because I ended up watching a Bernie Madoff special that, frankly, I really didn't want to watch. Number 5, it only was 2 years ago. It was only 2 years ago. It was Tampa Bay 31, the Chiefs 9. Now, here's why I put that on there. You could go to other games in the history of the NFL, and I will. But the reason I put that on there was because it's recent, okay? But I got to tell you, when I watched that game, I remember this distinctly. There was never a time in the second half in the Super Bowl that I had set my day to that this game was interesting. There was never a time where I sat and said, I have got to see what happens on this possession. Not one time. Not one time. And here's the other reason it made it. Because you think about the 9. Patrick Mahomes, Reed, Tyreek Hill, Nicole Hardeman, whatever. They had dudes. Kelsey. Kansas City had real dudes. And yet, game was over. Game was uninteresting. I walked away. Probably went and had 72 A&W root beers, 0 sugar, and hung out. It was a mess, this game. And it was recent. 1985. The 1985 Bears are the best defense that I've ever seen and I will ever see. Buddy Ryan led the 85 Bears defense. Mike Ditka, who you see there, led the offense apparently, and those two did not mesh. Those two fought like cats and dogs. Those two did not get along. Egos were involved. Ditka did Ditka things, which is basically take every endorsement, open every restaurant, and he took it away from the players, which cost Ditka and the Bears future championships. Buddy Ryan had that Southern old man thing where he was always jabbing, he's always in there jabbing. Oh, and he was always talking bad about Ditka and all that kind of stuff. And Buddy Ryan did a thing that every coach aspires to. He literally had players that would go and take a bullet for him. You see this picture of Mike Ditka. There's also a picture of Buddy Ryan somewhere being held up by the defense, being held up by his guys, Hampton and McMichael. That might be McMichael in there. Singletary, Plank, and Fensick, and Richard Dent, and Wilbur Marshall, and Otis the Rope. I mean, you had dudes on that team that were real dudes. So they play the Patriots, and the Patriots, I think, get off to a 7-0 lead. All right? The corner, Richardson, for the Bears, hurts himself, and he's out. It was either him or Leslie Frazier. It didn't matter. This game was over by halftime. This game, by the end of the first half, the Patriots could not get the ball and get a first down. It was a beatdown of monumental proportions. In fact, but it wasn't even the best beatdown. In the playoffs, the Bears literally, and I'm being literal here, held teams to negative yards rushing. They literally did not allow a first down. They literally took the heart and soul of the Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, and anybody else that came into their way. I can talk about this team forever. I mean ever. And when I say ever, I mean forever. I can go word for word. I've had the chance to meet a couple of them, and they are unbelievable guys. 15-1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Pro Bowlers. You want all pros? 10. How about that? And there was literally, and let's just be honest here, listen to these scores. New York Giants, 21-0. Los Angeles Rams, 24-0. New England Patriots, 46-10. Greatest team, most dominant defense I have ever seen. Your Chicago Bears. Next, in 1990, which I'll get to 1990 here in a little bit. In 1990, there was a Super Bowl. In that Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers took on the Denver Broncos. Look at the score. I remember this. I don't remember a lot, but I remember this. The Denver Broncos, came in with John Elway. They came in and they were going to be good, man. They were going to be good. They were going to get some things done. They were. Halftime score was 27-3. Halftime score was 27-3. Joe Montana and the fellas had their way with the Broncos. Now, good for the Broncos. They win a couple titles, all that kind of stuff. All Montana did was go 22-29, 300 yards, MVP, all that kind of stuff. His completion percentage was the second highest in the history of the Super Bowl, and every record almost damn near that Terry Bradshaw had set was eclipsed. It was unbelievable. Listen to this. 12 first downs to 28. That's it. That's it. 144 yards rushing for the 49ers, 64 for the other guys. 11 for 29 is all, for 103 yards, is all the passing yards John Elway et al. Could do. Now, I don't know what to tell you, but what I will tell you, 461 yards to 167. They're the only team to score 8 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. 2 touchdowns in each quarter. You can make the argument that this was number one, but it's not. I won't allow it. All right. Number 2, last night. Yeah, I know, I'm wrong. I should have made this number 1. 65-7 last night was, well, one of the biggest beatdowns I've ever seen. 65-7. The spread, you could have given me, correct me if I'm wrong, You could have given me TCU and 57. You give me TCU. Hey, Dan, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you TCU and 57. What would you have bet? Like, what would you have put on that? I'm like, take the house, take the car, take my wife, take my kid. I'm betting everything because we're going to get fat. Well, you lost. The line was 63.5, at least last I saw. One team covered the 63.5 right there. Man, you can make the argument it's the biggest beatdown ever. You can make the argument that Stetson Bennett went all Gale Sayers against the 49ers back in Wrigley Field and scored 6 touchdowns. It was a beatdown. It made people go have sex. It made people go eat. It made me turn on a Madoff show. It was a beatdown, and it probably was the biggest, but not to me. No. I was there. It was 1990. It was in McNichols Arena. It was the NCAA championship game. And I'm going to give you one reason why UNLV's 30-point beatdown of Duke was the biggest rout that I have ever seen. And here's the reason. In my time coaching, playing, announcing basketball, I have never seen, not one time, except for in this game, in the middle of the game, a player, in this case Bobby Hurley, currently the coach at Arizona State, have to run off the bench / court because he was crapping himself. That's right. He was crapping himself. Now look, you got to understand. I've been around basketball since 5th grade. Let's say you're 11 in 5th grade, 10? So that's 1972. I've been around basketball. I've watched basketball. I've played basketball. I coached basketball. I announced basketball. Never seen a guy crap himself. Never seen a guy run off the court and crap himself. I'm watching this game, and I could not believe what I was seeing. The opportunity for Duke to get a basket only came after the game was pretty much a rout. That's right. I'm saying the opportunity to get a basket was when the game was over. Now you're going to say, what are you talking about? No, I'm not. I'm going to tell you that's exactly the way it was. They, Duke, had pros. They, Duke, could not score. They, Duke, could not get a good shot. They, Duke, came back the next year and beat them. They did. They beat them. They beat UNLV the next year. All right, great. But in this game, I got to tell you, Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley, Thomas Hill, all the fellas got the absolute dog kicked out of them. And to me, it was one of those deals where it was only a 12-point game at half, but it might as well have been 50. Now, I'm not saying this should be number one. I'm saying a guy crapped himself, and I was there. And this one had no chance. All right, that's mine. Let me know yours. Go to Twitter, @Don'tAtMe. Go to our YouTube chat. There's a lot of them. Look, there really is. When you look at the history of the Super Bowl, you're like, wow, I didn't realize so many teams got their brains beat out. I've always thought going back that Super Bowls, number one, didn't have many points scored. And number two, like, wow. All right. I'll tell you something else about 1990. I think it was either 90 or 87. The word on the street, UNLV had the most beautiful cheerleaders. I mean, unbelievable. And the word on the street was they got dancing girls from Vegas shows. In fact, Sports Illustrated just devoted a whole section to one of the girls at UNLV. Yeah, it was unbelievable. All right. Now, stock up, stock down. You ready? Stock up. I'm sorry, we'll go stock down first. My man, John Calipari. John Calipari is the head coach at Kentucky. John Calipari was basically given a lifetime contract at Kentucky. John Calipari at Kentucky is supposed to continue a great tradition and really be the face of the university. I don't care what's his face, Mark Stoops says. I don't care that they had a little argument about whether it was a basketball school or not. I'm going to tell you right now, it is a basketball school. Everybody at Kentucky should shut up, and away you go. Period. John Calipari took his team into Alabama, where they beat the crap out of Kentucky every year in football. He took them into Alabama and walked out getting beat by 26. Now, I'm saying 26. It could have been 40. It should have been 40 if Nate Oates wanted it to be 40. But here's the deal that people don't understand. What people don't understand is everybody in coaching likes John Calipari. You got to like Cal. I love Cal. I always feel bad when I say bad things about Cal. I'm a Cal fan. But I got to tell you, they stinks. I told my friend Seth Greenberg first time I saw Kentucky, they stinks. Oscar Tshiebwe is being paid millions of dollars. He's not stinks, but he ain't no leader. There ain't nothing about Oscar Tshiebwe that I go, damn, I got to have Oscar Tshiebwe on my team. No, he puts up nice numbers, but that team stinks. To quote the great Carlos Zambrano when he was playing for the Cubs, you know what he said one year? We stinks. Well, guess what? You stinks. They got mediocre players. Seriously. When's the last time you saw the Big Blue Nation with mediocre players? Tshiebwe's a nice player. I mean, Tshiebwe, yeah, he'll go get numbers. But I'm telling you this, I'll bet you money on this. Nobody's ever going to say it. And if I was on a, people would say, oh, you're crazy. But I'll bet you money that team has problems because of the NIL and who's getting paid and who's not getting paid. Kentucky's sitting here 10-5, 1-2 in the SEC. This pains me. This next stock down, this pains me because this is my Indiana Hoosiers. Look, when they hired Mike Woodson, I said, great. The athletic director came over, called me up, Scotty Dolson, what do you think? I said, I think you hired a human being. I think you hired a reasonable human being. Then I find out that Mike Woodson takes 3 naps a day, smokes cigars, which is great, but not during work time. Actually, I don't even mind he smokes cigars. More interested in the sauna. I heard this week from a media member, game's over, they lose, his car's the first one gone. He ain't working at it. And you can tell on the court. There's no offensive execution. There's no defensive intensity. Now, Woodson did what you're not supposed to do. Woodson went out and blamed injuries. Look, I know injuries are a reason, but losing Robert Johnson and Race Thompson or Xavier Johnson, it ain't no. You guys think Race Thompson's tough. I think Race Thompson's soft as my backside. You guys think losing Xavier Johnson was a big deal. Xavier Johnson and Jalen Hood, whatever his name is, Shapiro, can't play together. So Mike Woodson, get out of the sauna, quit taking the naps, get with your team, turn off CNN. People get mad at me because I said, hey, look, the dude just watches CNN all day. He does. Well, you don't have to bring politics in. I don't. He's watching CNN instead of video. He's watching CNN instead of film. And then he argues with the idiots on his staff. He doesn't have one guy on his coaching staff that knows how to coach. Not one. 0. Got a guy that was involved in cheating in the Southern District of New York scandal. Got another guy who's fallen asleep on benches for years, Armand Hill. He's got another guy, Kenya Hunter, who tried to cover up weed smoking players. No accountability. So you're sitting here 10-5 with the most talent in the country. You're sitting here 1-3 in the Big Ten. Hope you turn it around. But the only way you're going to turn it around in Indiana is get off your fat ass and go to work. I got called racist for that. I don't care. I don't care if you're white or black. I have disparaged Archie Miller, white coach. Get off your ass, relaxed. Get out of the sauna, turn CNN off, quit taking that, and go to work. Get it figured out. I got to tell you, I'm tired of Robert Saleh. I'm tired of him. I said this from the get-go. Robert Saleh is a guy that when I watch, I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying into him. I know we can't say that. I know we're not supposed to say that because, well, you know, Brian Kelly was mean to him. Shut up. Shut up. Robert Saleh, 7-10. Pretty good. Robert Saleh at 7-10. The coach of the Jets. Awesome. Fantastic. Except when you look at it. Loss. By my math, that's 6 losses in a row. 7 out of 8. Now, let me explain something to you. We had Johnny Venerable on early, and he talked about how Kliff Kingsbury's teams fold at the end. You know other teams fold at the end? Robert Saleh's. You know other teams fold at the end? Mike McDaniel, the guy at Miami. Why? Because these guys are players' coaches. We're going to go to Top Golf. We're not practicing today. The Colts tried that crap. Well, we're going to take today off. Yeah, we are. We're going to take today off because guys we're not going to have workouts in the off season because guys don't want to. Yeah? All right. Tough. So Robert Saleh loses 6 in a row, and yet he's a hero. Why? Well, because. You know why. City of El Paso. City of El Paso, you got a serious problem. City of El Paso, you got a problem that needs cleaned up. You got a problem that the entire country knows about. You got a problem that the entire country would love for something to be done by our border czar, Kamala Heels Up Harris. All right? Okay. So the president goes down there. Let's show a couple of our pictures of before and after of El Paso. How about that? Now, how do you get anything done when before, after? How do you get anything done with a president that doesn't know where he is, has no idea what he's seeing, and yet you hide it from him? How do you do that? City of El Paso, you said, look, dude, you coming down here, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see it real. You're going to see exactly what's going on here, Chief. And you can try, President, your little verbiage and your lies and your tough guy act, but this needs cleaned up. It does. We're so afraid, right? God dang, we're so into appearances. We're so into crap. How about you just show people and be what people are and don't worry about it? Oh my God, it's a tweet. Oh my God, the president's coming. We got to clean this up. Why you got to clean it up? Why do you have to clean it up? I don't understand. Why? Show them what's real and get to work. Tell Heels Up. Get rid of the old mayor at San Francisco. Throw him out of bed and get to work. What are you doing? All right, stock up. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm tired of J.J. Watt. Just am. You cannot be. I am. But salute to J.J. Watt because everything J.J. Watt touches is pretty good. The philanthropy, great. The play on the field, great. The work ethic, unbelievable. He ends his career with 2 sacks. Maybe I'm jealous of J.J. Watt. I don't think so, but maybe that's it. Because really there's nothing wrong with being what J.J. Watt is, which is awesome. I had a friend that dated J.J. Watt. She's a national reporter that doesn't ever want me to say her name, but I always get close just to make her crazy. And she's like, yeah, J.J. Watt's as nice a guy as advertised. Captain America. Salute on a great career, J.J. Watt. Good luck to whatever it is you do. I hope it's in helping people. Sonny Dykes and Kirby Smart, stock up. Look, stock up Kirby Smart. Obviously, you got 2 national champions. But stock up to both of you. When you go through a season like college football, where literally every game is life or death to your playoff hopes, and you frankly You do it in a couple different ways. Kirby Smart seems like the Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, very businesslike, and he is a champion because of it. Sonny Dykes seems to be more of that good old guy, right? That Southern guy, that good. I don't know where Sonny Dykes is from, but I've enjoyed listening to Sonny Dykes talk. I've enjoyed Sonny Dykes' interviews, and I've enjoyed his team regardless of what happened last night. I don't really care. You got beat, so what? I know third string all, what's the conference around here? The Midwest, the MIC. The all MIC. Yeah, third team all-conference guy from the 80s is going to say, yeah, we didn't think Sonny Dykes. Shut up. Stock up to both of you. Stock up Max Duggan and Stetson Bennett. Let me tell you something. I don't care what happened last night. Max Duggan got his brains beat out, but you know what? It's good. Sometimes you need your brains beat out. But you know what he did? Both of them. Let me tell you, they didn't sulk. Max Duggan wasn't the starter for TCU to begin the year. Guess what? He didn't sulk. You want to see sulking? Go watch Quay Walker and his childish little act walking up the tunnel after getting the boot. Look at him. Look at any bench on a college basketball team. You'll see sulking. Duggan, bench, doesn't start, gets an opportunity, ends up a Folk Hero National Championship game. Listen to this story. We're all jumping up and down, standing on our head and pooping snowballs over frickin' Stetson Bennett. But Stetson Bennett last year wins a national championship. What does? How does he get rewarded? Well, Kirby Smart's like, hey, Stetson, great. Absolutely great. But I got to tell you, we're bringing in Caleb Williams. And last is Elon Musk. Elon Musk, fantastic. Whatever you do, keep doing it. Hey, Dylan, play this little piece of garbage from Chris Ballard, will you please? We live in a world where failure is not allowed. When you fail in this world, you get canceled and everybody wants your head, and rightfully so in some cases. But if you're going to be able to get through it and learn from it, you can reach your greatest heights. Yeah? How many years of failure? Yeah? How much crap? Tomorrow I'll have reaction. Tomorrow I'll have reaction to the idiot that is speaking. Ballard just said he will lead the search for a new coach. And Irsay will make the final call. Give Jeff Saturday, give Jeff Saturday 3 more years to develop the Colts into a powerhouse. 2 answers, yes and absolutely. My God, get rid of all of these idiots. You know, the guy that said about the Survivor, this is his 7th year. This is going to be his 7th year. Hasn't won a division. Hasn't won nothing. Hasn't won a damn thing. He's the worst general manager in the league. The worst. And we're going to keep him. We are going to keep him. He said in his press conference, I fired myself 50 times this year. Good. That's crap. Ballard on working with Irsay. He's a good man, good owner. We don't always agree. Then Irsay, he lets me do my job. Then Irsay should be fired. I mean, if he lets this go on, then he is allowing incompetence. How do you allow incompetence? How do you allow this incompetence? I don't even want to talk to Ballard. Ballard is so full of crap. It's unbelievable. I love it. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks to everybody. I'll have all kind of reaction to this crap. But honest to God, Irsay's a good man. Really? Well, he lets your dumbass, Chris Ballard, stay on the job. Honest to God, I failed. I'm not going to make excuses. Then goodbye. Goodbye. I failed. Survivor. There are winners. There are losers. There are survivors. And Chris Ballard is a loser, survivor. And that is very rare. Maybe it's because he's white after you ask RG3. Maybe it's because he's a white dude. I don't know. I mean, isn't that, white guy? I don't know. Maybe that's the reason. Unbelievable. When you listen to Chris Ballard, take a shower. Because you're getting spit on, lied to. It's unbelievable. All right, Ryan, Dylan, Haley, Davey, Eric, Chuck, everybody, thank you. We're going to talk to you tomorrow. I'll have more reaction on this Chris Ballard idiocy tomorrow. See you guys.